Good evening or good morning, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to a special edition of the 1904 Club. It's a transfer deadline day special edition, or potentially, Baz, a transfer deadline day gone special edition, as we said, with people listening to the pod the following day. And not being as big an eventful day for Hull City as we're used to seeing on transfer deadline day, but it's certainly been an eventful month. You're probably glad of a bit of a quieter day, aren't you? Because the last few years it's been absolutely crazy, and we've had signings and new arrivals coming from everywhere. Very quiet today, just the one signing in. How are you feeling?
Knackered. It's been a long month. Look, I think everybody wants that excitement, don't they? That buzz on deadline day of players coming in. But in reality, I think you want your business done and dusted in advance. And I think 7 of their 8 signings were done well in advance. Obviously, Louis Barry was the last one in before today, last week before the Stoke game. John Egan is the one that's come in today, signed an 18-month deal with the option of a further 12 months. Relatively low nominal fee. I think in some respects it's a very, very good signing for where City are at, the bottom end of the league. They need a bit of guile, a bit of championship experience. I think the one concern is that he's not played much over the last 2 seasons. Obviously, he started off in the Premier League with Sheffield United last season. I think he did his Achilles at West Ham in early October, didn't play again for Sheffield United, left Bramall Lane in the summer, went to Burnley, and has only played 7 times. So he's not played a huge amount of football in the last 2 years. But he's obviously got an awful lot of experience, hasn't he? He's played over 400 times. Half of those have come in the Championship, another 70 odd in the Premier League. So he's clearly a player that was absolutely pivotal to Sheffield United getting up into the Premier League. Chris Wilder loved him. If he can replicate, some decent form in the final weeks of the season, then City have got a decent player on their hands.
So I don't want to be quite often I'm the Mr. Negative side of things on here, and I don't want to come on and be negative, but
you're going to be, because you put the button, haven't you?
I've already put the button a little bit, and it's only a minor one, and this isn't against the signing at all, but I don't think we see that signing go through if they don't lose to Stoke City on Saturday. I think if Hull City get the result that the chances and a lot of the play merited on Saturday, and they walk away with 3 points, I don't think we see Egan come in. And my only criticism is, again, we've seen a lot of this under recent windows under the owner, a lot of reacting to results with the signing rather than maybe having a plan there. That's not to criticise the player coming in, who, as you've just highlighted, good experience. I'm just highlighting the fact that it's maybe a surprise signing that I don't think we were expecting. I mean, they were after a left-back, there's no doubt about it. They were after strengthening the defence, but I don't think bringing in a centre-back and John Egan was in the plan until some point on Sunday when discussions were had.
Yeah, I think, look, that's something we on the podcast we've talked about. If you're a regular listener to the 1904 Club,
I'm not. This is my first time.
No, I know you're not bothered. But I think that's something we've guarded against throughout and before the window even opened, was that not being too reactive, not panicking, and not getting players for their final payday. And I'm not saying that John Egan is going to be that, because he's been a great professional, and he's still only 32. So it's not like he's 37, 38, and you think he's not played for 2 years.
Yeah,
that's a problem. But I take your point. And I think I said this on the post-match video after the Stoke game, that I was worried that because of that defeat, the manner of that defeat, where it leaves them in the league, that potentially they might panic, that they might go and try and do something they didn't need to do. And the fact that John Egan has publicly said today that he got the phone call on Sunday night does suggest, I'm not saying that is the case, but it does suggest that is a reactionary signing to, we conceded 2 really bad goals against Stoke, we need some extra cover in the back four. And let's not forget this, for all the criticism this team have got defensively this season, in the last 3 games they have kept 3 clean sheets away from home. Clean sheet at Blackburn, clean sheet at Millwall, and arguably an even better clean sheet in the 3-0 win at Sheffield United. The issue for me is at home, but that is in both boxes. It isn't just up front. Let's be fair. On Saturday against Stoke City, I nearly called them Stoke-on-Trent then, against Stoke-on-Trent City. If they'd have got the second goal when they were so on top and playing really, really well, they probably don't concede those 2 goals. They probably go on and win the game, and then we're having a very different conversation. So I think it is twofold. They are at home, and this is where all season the issue has been. At home, they are poor in both boxes. They don't score the goals when their chances come along, and at the other end, they give away awful goals. I can't remember the last time that I've come away from a game at home going, yeah, fair play, the opposition have scored a great goal. And the manner of the goals they're conceding are so bad. And I think that's probably why they thought, look, one of the prerequisites before the window opened was championship experience. We don't want to go and sign 12 players that have never played at the level before when we are in the situation that we are in. We want mainly experience of the championship. Now, obviously, not all their signings have. I mean, Amrabat's played in England before, but Carl Joseph has got he played a bit a while ago. But somebody like Egan has played in the Championship. Obviously, Gelhardt has played in the Championship. Yeah. Matt Crooks, as a perfect example, has played a lot in the Championship. So they've got that quality. Matazo hasn't, but from what we've seen, I thought he was tremendous on Saturday in his.
It feels like the wild card in some ways. Of this,
and there's always going to be a Hull City wild card, a bit like Uriel Chelly going to. Well, yeah. I mean, that's
we'll come back to that in a minute. So now, listen, you'll discuss, no doubt, on the pod whether you do one later this week or next week, and reviewing the window and what it means moving forward. You'll discuss that in more detail with better informed people,
more
intelligent and more knowledgeable people than me. And if you can't find them people, Fletch and Putz will do.
What about Catherine?
Well,
Catherine will bring some.
I was including her as
common
more knowledgeable.
Sense. It's all gone to pot since Burnsy went. Basically, is what I'm saying.
And yet, listening figures have just skyrocketed.
Well, the thing is, listening figures on the pod have quadrupled, and Tiger's Plus membership, since he's got commentary, they've only got 5 people, and I've got 2 accounts.
No, well, you can talk a little bit more about what that Egan signing means in terms of for the back four and who's going to be playing in what position and the full backs. So let's just park that one for now. Just have a little roundup of the day as we saw it. We knew that the left back thing was probably not going to come off, and that Egan was probably going to be the only bit of business. But then come mid-afternoon, was it? There was a little bit of a hint that maybe something else might come along. As it transpired, they didn't manage to get it done. How's the day unfolded? Give people a little bit of a view. Pulling back the curtain, well, I'm pulling a bit more. We're sat in the Hull Daily Mail office here, and Barry's got a microphone on his. This isn't his little attempt at chest hair of a tribble.
This is going to be weird.
Growing on you.
What are you doing?
Talk to people about how the day's unfolded, sat here at this desk, and what's been going on.
Yeah, so obviously it started with, we knew coming into today they wanted to try and sign a left back. They also wanted centre or defensive cover. So we knew that John Egan was a player they were targeting. It was a case of that was pretty much done and dusted on Sunday. It just needed final confirmation from Burnley that they were prepared. Everything was agreed with Egan, the contract, the salary, etc., etc. They ultimately, and I think a lot of fans will feel that they've not, the one area they haven't strengthened is at left back. Obviously, Ryan Giles, bless him, he scored the winning goal for his own team tonight against Sunderland. Great finish. But having allowed Ryan Giles to move on,
he scored the winning goal for his own team.
Sorry, he scored the winning goal
for the opposite. Team.
Yeah. It's been a long day. So for Sunderland, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah? He played for Middlesbrough, right? Yeah. And he scored for Sunderland.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. And they're playing red. Actually, they're both playing a little bit of red. But go on.
Yeah. So I think the worry was not having a left back. Giles has obviously gone to Borough. That's left them with Matty Jacob and Sean McLaughlin, who can play in at left back and has done a great job, in fairness, in the 3 away games. To make it clear, Charlie Taylor was Ruben's primary target, and I think the general consensus was that if he couldn't get Charlie Taylor, he didn't want to sign somebody as a stopgap. And as we touched on before the window, it is difficult for City because of their league position to attract the top players. We've seen Marcus Edwards go to Burnley from Sporting Lisbon for what will be £8 million if they get promoted in the summer.
Tyler Morton was 10 million they were talking about.
I'll touch on Tyler in a minute. But yeah, look, they looked at left backs, but Ruben decided that, and you have to kind of give him credit for not just piling in and taking anybody that he felt wouldn't be the right player in his system in the dressing room. Now, whether that comes to bite them on the backside, as last year did with not replacing Liam Delap, only time will tell. I feel like they can cover it better at left back than they did up front with the lack of Liam Delap replacement 12 months ago. Time will tell on that and how we play out. But yeah, look, so Egan was the one. Then it was Xavier Simons and Andy Smith we knew were going. There was some talk that there could be interest in Mason Burstow, but that didn't, as it turns out, materialise. There was also some suggestion from Adjon Ilagela that they were trying to bring in another player from the continent, but I'm not entirely sure that ever got that close, particularly as we saw on deadline day in the summer when they tried to sign David Fofana from Chelsea. That fell apart, and then almost after the deadline they tried to sign Washington from Chelsea as well, David Washington. That didn't happen. So contrary to what one or two people might say on social media, that we were just trying to drag people along for the ride, that isn't the case. There was suggestion from the top of the football club that they were trying to get a late deal in.
No, we were excited this afternoon, weren't we? We were, when we got, tempered excitement, because we always thought, it's deadline day, anything could happen. But
from Adjon said himself back in the summer that he loves the excitement of deadline day and a bit of drama, and so I don't doubt that he was trying to do something late on. And also, like I say, clubs panic. You get to 5-6 o'clock on deadline day. They look at the players. They look at the squad. They look at the league table. They think this is the last chance we've got to impact it before the end of the season. We need to, they panic. Clubs panic, and City aren't the only ones that will do it. And when you're a place above the bottom three, only 2 points are clear of it, and you've just lost at home to Stoke City, who had won 2 away from home all season, you can understand why that potentially was a problem, and why that was in their mind. So that hasn't happened. Ultimately, they've got what they've got. They've signed 8 players. I think 12, including a couple of youngsters like Henry Sandat and Jake Lee, if we throw them in, have gone. Like I say, I think they're ending the window a lot stronger than they started it, and that is always the prerequisite of any window. They're in a much better place. They've got much better options than what they did, particularly going forward. And now it's up to the players that are in there, the manager and the coaching staff, to pull themselves out of the mess that they've got themselves. Well, not the existing coaching staff have got themselves into, but as a collective, the mess the football club have got themselves into, because they have got themselves into. You can't shy away from it. From being where they were this time 12 months ago and having a chance to get in the playoffs, they're now fighting to stay in the division. So it's a collective. I can't swear on this really, but it's a collective. Isn't it? Because I don't see how anybody can argue that from 12 months ago, from when they signed Fabio Carvalho, and everybody was excited and you thought there was a genuine chance of getting into the playoffs, and then anything could happen. 12 months on, they're scrapping to stay in the division, and they've got a real fight on. And away from home, they look like they can stay up. You watch them at home, and you think, where is the next win coming from?
Just on that Carvalho one, do you see Louis Barry being that kind of figure that can replicate the kind of role and impact that he had, and maybe even to a greater extent in terms of goal return, given what he's done previously, although we're talking a lower level?
My gut feeling says no. I really like Louis Barry. I really like the signing. I think it's...
It doesn't sound like it. You just killed it off already.
No, I do. But I like the signing. I think it's a really progressive, exciting signing. And I think the fact they've got an opportunity to get him back potentially next year as well, if they're in the Championship, is a big plus. But he did it. He's done everything in League 1 and 2. And that's to take nothing away from the kid, because he's clearly a talented boy. Carvalho had done it in the Championship and he played in the Premier League. So Carvalho was coming from a higher base. His body of work was achieved at a higher level. And I don't think there was any doubt that Carvalho would step into Hull City's team under Liam and hit the ground running and have a positive impact, because we know we knew he knew that he was robust, he knew the league, he produced. I'm not sure we're gonna. I think Barry,
but the experience is chalk and cheese, isn't it?
He is.
In terms of
he's got the talent.
What Carvalho had already done.
Completely.
I get that.
But I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Barry needs time to adapt to being at Hull City and playing in the Championship.
City haven't got the
City
time.
haven't got the it's that perfect storm, isn't it? City haven't got the time for that to happen.
But you can argue that same with Joe Geldart as well. I know
but he's had a great impact, Geldart.
I know he's got the experience, but he's hardly played any football for a long time. And I know he's had a really good impact and a good start. But he's going to take a little while to really hit the ground running.
I think he has. I think in fairness to Geldart, him scoring, albeit in defeat against QPR, that worldie of a goal, that volley, I thought he was excellent at Sheffield United in his work rate, the job he did for the team. I thought he worked hard again on Saturday. So but I just think with Louis Barry, he needs, hopefully this next 10 days, or between obviously the Stoke game and the Burnley game away next Wednesday night, gives him time to acclimatise to the club. Obviously it was all very rushed. He arrived, trained a couple of days, straight into the squad on the pitch. Hopefully this little intervening period between now and next Wednesday night will help Louis Barry and in acclimatising. But
it kind of feels as disappointing as it was getting knocked out of the cup, but with the benefit of hindsight and everything, this little mini break of having a weekend off is perfect timing. I mean, in a way, you could probably argue you could maybe do without the Cardiff game next Wednesday as well.
A couple of Wednesdays away.
Will they play next week?
Away at Burnley.
Sorry. It just feels like he needs a little bit of time to work with some of these players.
I get that, but I've also made the case all season that cup games are actually really good for a team like Hull City that don't win many football matches. And sign a lot of players, generally players that aren't fit and haven't played in a long time. Now, imagine if you got a cup game this weekend, you could give Barry 90 minutes, you could give John Egan 90 minutes, you could get Lincoln into the game, you could give Amrabat some more time. So all these players, and the reason they're signing these players is because they haven't played. So that
you could do, but you could also be on the wrong end of a 3-0 or something like that.
I get it, yeah.
And then your confidence is knocked, and have you achieved what you wanted to achieve?
I guess you can make it fit any
You can make the argument fit either way. Let's
absolutely.
make it fit the way that makes me look better and you wrong. Let's just move on and talk about earlier on in the window and how it really started. You look at the people they've brought in now. Do you think, with what Ruben will have been talking with Adjan about and the Brains Trust, as we call it over there, lights are going out here behind us.
That's not euphemism.
Do you lights went out a long time with me. Do you feel like they've achieved everything that they set out to achieve in this transfer window? There's been a few surprises. There's been some deals come up that possibly they weren't expecting and they've moved for because opportunities have arisen. But do you feel that they've probably achieved what they wanted to achieve?
I think for the most part, yes. Ultimately, they wanted to get numbers in. They wanted to get quality in.
And they wanted to get certain people out, which I think they've done.
Yeah, they needed to get legs in the team and pace in the team and an attacking threat in the team because they were very one-paced, very slow up in the final third. They've been able to do that. I come back to the original point. They've not been able to strengthen the left back, having let Gilo go. So I think that will be their one regret. I think elsewhere, obviously, the Rushworth going back is a bit of a disappointment. I don't think you can get away from that because he's a very good goalkeeper at this level. But that was out of their hands. They had no control over that. But I think if you look at where else they've strengthened, I think they've. You have to take into account they're a team that were at the bottom in the bottom three, and they've been in the bottom three for much of the last 3 or 4 months. And getting the right players that can make a difference to a team that are in the bottom three is very, very difficult. Everybody in the land wants to sign the striker. I know it's at the top level, but look how difficult Arsenal have found it. They've not been able to do it.
Yeah.
Every club in the land wants to sign the striker. When you're Hull City in the bottom three, and I know people moaned at me for almost being disrespectful, and it's not meant in any disrespectful way. It's just a fact of reality that when you're in the bottom three of the Championship, you are a long way down the food chain. And I think they've done really well to get a player like Joe Geldart. They've obviously taken a bit of a punt and paid £2.5 million on Carl Joseph. They've got João Pedro. They've signed Lincoln. We don't know anything about him yet in terms of what he can do at this level. Matt Crooks has already shown what he can do with the goal at Bramall Lane. We know his past in the Championship if he can stay fit. So, and Elliot Matazo looks a real player. We're seeing the best from Stephen Alzate. We've got Casey Palmer to come back. You've got Charlie Hughes to come back to fitness. If the manager, and everybody knows my feelings on Ruben Sayers, I love him. I would have appointed him back in the summer, but if he can't, and the players can't, with the quality they've now got at their disposal, keep this team in the division, it's a real poor show, and they've got themselves to blame. If they get relegated, they deserve it, because they've got, between what they've got in the building already, they've got some very good players in the building already. Let's not forget that. They've added some good players, one or two that the jury is going to be out, but that is when you sign 8 players in a window, there's going to be the jury out on 1 or 2 of them anyway. Now it's up to them to knuckle down and get some results, especially at home, because otherwise, if they don't start getting results at home, and we said this before the Stoke game, that of their 8 home games remaining, 4 of them were against teams below them. Well, now 3 of them, Derby, Luton and Plymouth, are below them. They've got 7 left at home. They've got to turn the home form around, otherwise there's a very good chance they will get relegated, because you cannot rely on winning games away from home, especially when you're next to Burnley and Sunderland away. They've got some, and you go, I think your final game is away at Portsmouth. Your final home game is against Derby. You don't want to be going into them 2 games needing with jeopardy. You want it done and dusted. There should be enough in that dressing room now to just get some results at home. Because I'm conscious that they've won 3. They've won 3 on the spin away from home, and that is very, very good, and all credit, because that's been brilliant. But if they can't correct their home form, they're going to struggle, and they may well go down yet.
That's a happy note, isn't it?
But no, I think, I think when you look at the window as a whole, I think they've had the best window of the teams. No team in the Championship has signed more than the 8 that Hull City have at the time of going live. I mean, Blackburn might have signed 5 more players by the time, before the window closes. But I think generally, I think we'd all agree that it's been a positive window, with the one caveat being they've not been able to strengthen at the left back. But that's the manager's decision. He could have taken Murray Wallace. He could have taken somebody else. They probably would have had 5-6 different options that they could have taken at left back.
Yep.
But the manager was strict. If I can't get Charlie Taylor, I don't want. And there's nothing out there for us that we can do, that we within our pay structure, within finances, that we can afford to do. That we'll stick with Sean McLaughlin, Matty Jacob, and we'll hope that works. Maybe they go to, it's not necessarily a system, but maybe with Egan they can go to a back 3 and play and have Jacob and Drame or Coyle as their 2 wing backs, and go to a McLaughlin, Jones and Egan, or when Charlie Hughes comes back in, you've also got Finn Burns, who they've kept. So that's an option. I think it's unlikely, admittedly, but it is an option. But he's got a bit of depth about his squad now. You look at the bench on Saturday. Okay, they didn't win the game, but he'd got options on the bench he could turn to. And I think as the season wears on, that will be really important. So I think on the whole, it's been a positive window. And as I say, the simple yardstick of a window is, are you stronger at the end of it than you were at the top of it, at the beginning of it? And unequivocally, the answer to that question is yes. They just haven't brought in the left back, but as we keep saying, that was the manager's decision.
That was the manager's decision, and that was the transfer window. We're going to wrap this one up, because the transfer window is still going as we record here now. There is 18 minutes left of the window. It's 10:42 on deadline day, and we've both got to get things wrapped up on Hull Live and things ready for tomorrow's paper. So we'll bring it to a close on that real positive note from you, Barry, with your Ruben Sayers is my hero t-shirt that you're hiding under that little yellow sweatshirt.
I went yellow, because that's the transfer deadline colour in it. At least we're not in the car park, and you might have some proper lactics waved behind your head, thankfully.
It'd have made this video more enjoyable.
This has been bleak, hasn't it, let's be honest. But it is nearly 11 o'clock after a 65-hour day, and it's the 55th of January.
We're both looking bleary-eyed. I can assure you that no alcohol has passed our lips, and this is just
delirium.
Is there an actual official term for screen fatigue or something like that?
Just general fatigue, just
general fatigue.
Life football, Hull City fatigue. But no, I think let's round it up and try and look at the positives. They're in a really difficult position in the league. They haven't got a huge amount of money to splash about. I think between them they've done the best job probably they can. They've signed some good players. Let's just hope that it works out and that the manager can get some results. Because I say away from home, last three have been brilliant, haven't they? They just need to find a way to play. Short of bulldoze in the stadium and going to play somewhere else and get rid of it. That's the only thing I can come up with. That's the best I've got, is to solve the home form, is to go and play at the Costello or something.
Just have a kick around. Swap West Park for East Park. Well,
no comments about the pitch, by the way.
Jumpers for goalpost. We'll have a little kick around on East Park on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, well,
instead.
It might bring some good. I'm just trying to bring some good luck. We need some good luck to, the rugby club and the football club have been a shambles at home for the last 3 years or however long it's been. So, let's. But yeah, it's been a positive window for the most. I'd say probably 75% of it's been positive. One slight concern is the left back area, but hopefully the manager can cover that. As I say, Mack has been absolutely fantastic in the last month or so. So if he can replicate that, the offensive player starts scoring some goals at home. Hopefully they can get out of this mess, because if they can and get through to the summer and everything can calm down a little, hopefully, he says, dreaming, we need to get away from this constant churn of signing so many players and trying to have a stable. But signing players like Joseph and Matazzo on permanence is going to help that, isn't it? So, yeah, all in all, 8 players in, 12 gone, and maybe 1 or 2 more could still go. The Turkish window doesn't close until the 15th of February, so the likes of Dokin, Sinek and Abdouche could still leave the club. But we'll see on that one. Oh, and a mention for Uriel Celli.
Oh, yes.
I don't think anybody's ever seen. Does he actually exist?
I think everyone forgot he was still at the club.
Well, he wasn't really at the club, was he? He was on the... Anyway, he's gone. His move that was he was loaned out, and then he was loaned out again, and he's been sold permanently and then loaned back out. So he's no longer at Hull City anyway. I'm not sure he ever actually came to Hull, to be fair, but that's that one done. That was a last piece of business out.
Yes, the last out on what's been a relatively quiet, as it turned out in the end, transfer deadline day, but with that key addition of John Egan, as we discussed, from Burnley on an 18-month deal with an option for an extra year. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for putting up with our transfer deadline day ramblings, as usual. Barry will be back with a proper podcast at some point in the near future, which will make a lot more sense and hopefully be a lot more entertaining than our 2 witterings. But we appreciate your time anyway. Cheers, everybody.